I prefer seeing the Masaros Mars. I think the Death Prophet could run as a support there. Maybe giving it towards set 0 as a hard 5. So 5 DP, a 4 line. Sounds like a pretty good pace to go, because as a Death Prophet, you only really need levels. You don't need much in itemization. The line's going to need to rush Blink for the team to get the initiation going. I would like to see that, but it's fairly open. There could be a lack of control here with a DP support, but with a Mars in line, I think you're already compensating for that quite nicely. Back to that SMG pick though, Mike. Razor coming out, really great way to counteract the Life Stealer and the Mars to a certain extent. Even the Death Prophet is something you can just run around and link into to get a lot of damage going. So they have a good way of controlling the Life Stealer. Not that, again, going back to the core-to-core matchup, assuming a tiny 1, I don't think the Life Stealer would have had a really good time scaling into the late game anyway. And now you compound that with a Razor who's just going to run around chasing this Life Stealer, taking his damage away. It's not going to be a very easy game for Jackie to have a lot of impact here. And they're going to have to find a balance for Motivate.Trust and a mid-game aggression timing there, maybe about the 20-minute mark. It's when you'd really want to get control of the map, because if you stall this game out for too long, you have to always worry about the Razor, you have to worry about the tiny scaling. And for Motivate.Trust, outside of Lifestealer, scaling on Mars can kind of happen, but it does take a lot of investment, and if your Lifestealer is suffering, your Mars is likely not doing any better there.
No, 100%. I think the Razor was a hell of a value pick here. Like, you could throw this Razor in pretty much any lane right now, and it will just win every single one. Like, Mars can't beat it. I mean, DP tends to try and abuse Spirit Siphon. Obviously, you don't really want to be too close to the Razor, because Static Link's going to hurt quite a lot. And like you already kind of brought up, Jackie on the Lifestealer, obviously not going to enjoy it either. Though it does seem like it's probably going to be an off-lane Razor here. Just try and dominate the lane against the Lifestealer, and it should definitely make life very hard for Motivate.Trust. I am wondering what they kind of finish off here with their draft to round this off and kind of give themselves a better chance, because, yeah, I mean, if it is a pos 1 tiny, like you said, the armor bonuses, the amount of right-click damage you pump out, very, very high. Maybe you get to a stage of the Lifestealer where you can kind of heal through it, but I honestly doubt it. We've seen the Tiny, once he has the Silver Edge up as a position 1, he just shreds through. I mean, he gets those double attacks off, half your HP's gone, and if he manages to get the Avalanche Toss on top, you are probably just dead, no matter who you are. Still Motivate. Last pick to be made. SMG, they are guessing it's a mid-hero, and it is. Fearless. He's going to go ahead and pick up the Storm in the mid lane. And that's one hero that doesn't care so much about the Razor, which is going to be nice. And I suppose it does also give you that kind of backup core in case Jackie is suffering a little bit on that Lifesteal.
Yeah, it's a really strong Storm game because the control from SMG isn't that focused on instant control as well. You've got Fissure, you've got Avalanche Toss, maybe Bloodright if you can land the Fissure combination, the stun combination to the silence, but for the most part, the Storm should have a pretty good time zipping in and out. Not much to worry about there for Fearless, so he will get to dictate the engagements when he does jump in. He's also a really good infest target for a Lifestealer, so Jackie has a good vehicle to run in, play aggressive. They could try to zip, take control of the Razor first, and once you take that Razor out of the picture, suddenly that big answer you have is gone. Like that's your main key for really keeping Jackie's Lifestealer in check, and without that static link, Jackie will be able to do a ton of damage in the middle of a fight.
Very true. SMG, final pick for them. Does feel like they are lacking the Moon hero right now. It still could be a mid-tiny, still could be a mid-razor, but it doesn't remind me of a Moon hero, these two. He won't have the silencer to go back to. He has the coddle, but the coddle doesn't seem quite as potent as it used to be in the mid lane. We saw Moon after the nerfs trying to make it work, but the farm rate of the coddle is just so much slower now. Keep in mind, there is a new patch that came out today as well. So, Grand Finals Day, no problem. New patch. Perfect timing, I say, from Valve. Thank you very much. So,
Yeah.
going to be interesting. I mean, the changes weren't too big, but they may have impact in this last day of the Pro Series.
Definitely. I think the big one that you pointed out in our little chat there, Mike, was the Brigands Blade. Why it got buffed? Why?
They buffed it.
Why would you buff it?
I don't know. SMG, they're going to go for the Leshrac last pick. Fair enough. Very fast-paced kind of lineup, and that is going to be Moon on that mid Leshrac. Mid 1 is going to indeed take the position 1 Tiny, and KP is going to be on the off-lane Razor. It's like Motivate.Trust have not picked any heroes yet, so maybe just wanting to suss out what SMG was up to. But overall, I think both teams have pretty solid drafts. SMG, maybe you could argue there's a bit of an early to mid-game timing they need to revolve around, but I do feel like that Tiny late game is just really, really powerful. Perhaps you don't really want to force it that far if you're SMG, because you are still against the Storm Spirit, you're still against the Lifestealer, so it can be a little bit scary as the game does go a bit later on. I'd still say the Pos 1 Tiny, though, assuming you get the farm up, just hits way, way too hard. But John, I'll ask you the question, before we do get into this game 1, there's a lot on the line in this lower bracket final here. One of these teams is going to be going home early today. Who do you think has the superior game 1 draft?
I think when it comes down to draft, SMG looks like they have the edge. I think their timings are a lot faster with Leshrac to kind of tie them in for a push. Tempo that's not tied into a big ult. So comparatively to a Death Prophet, you're tied into Exorcism. It's a lot quicker for a Leshrac to just rotate in, look for a team fight, take an objective, start shutting them in the map that way. And I think if SMG can play that pace with Moon taking the lead and with KP taking more active position on the offlane, just ensuring Jackie doesn't find farm, then they can shrink the map down small enough where a Lifestealer and a Storm sharing farm is not going to lead to much farm distribution at all for Motivate.Trust.
Okay, fair enough. So you are kind of leaning towards SMG here for game 1. We'll see if Motivate.Trust are forced to eat their words, and excuse my pun, John, but you know, the MSG thing's fresh in my mind there from Fearless, so we'll see if Motivate.Trust have got the MSG today. Or their SMG have the MSG. Maybe that's the storyline we'll have to go with today, John. All about MSG for some reason.
Oh gosh, you know, the only thing I think of when I hear MSG mentioned so much is like a heck lot of instant noodles. And that's what my parents used to tell me, or my grandparents used to tell me when I was a kid. Don't eat too much instant noodles because that MSG is gonna kill you. You know, it's deadly.
It's delicious though.
It is. It really is.
Gotta give a shout out to the YouTube creators, by the way, John. Yesterday in game 1, I forgot my in-game mic off. So my apologies to all the people out there that make the highlight clips. I see you. I remember you. And unfortunately, yesterday I did forget for game 1. But, you know, I believe today I've sorted it out. Motivate. We chased down by Arfu, but it could be alright. Arfu won't throw out the Fisher. The whole of SMG, in fact, were right behind him, just looking for a stun out. Fearless, going to be very cautious. They have the vision with that observer ward already, so SMG will choose to get very aggressive here. And they won't so far. Motivate.Trust not really revealing themselves too much.
The battle begins.
In the end, it does seem like both teams are going to get away with their 2 for 2 on the bounties. And hold on, now I'm a bit paranoid, so I've just got to quickly check that open mic. It is on. There you go.
It does happen.
Have a look at this, John. Jackie, he's rotated. I think that's, you know, pretty smart considering he doesn't want to lane against the Razor. So he's going to force KP to run his way up. A mid 1, he's going to swap his way back down to the bot lane. I wonder how long they play musical lanes between these two.
Yeah, we've seen teams before just willing to go all the way until, what, 4 minutes and swapping lanes. I think in this case, SMG has the heads up because they had this deep laning ward on bot, so that gave them the info as to who's heading where. And KP is still going to miss out on a couple of creeps here, but not too much. I do have Raji at least holding line, but he's got to be a bit careful. Level 1 Bloodseeker doesn't bode well here, and we know Raji's Bloodseeker. He tends to love playing aggressive once certain levels are up and once he has some way of playing with that Blood Riot.
Look, on set 0 right now. Earthspike's going to be there, and Jackie will try to punish KP just a little bit. Just don't want to man fight the Razor too much when he's got that much bonus damage. And we'll have a look at the other lanes as well. There's Fearless in the mid lane against Moon. Moon, I haven't seen much of his Leshrac as of late, but it's one of those heroes. You get off to a great start, you farm the jungle like crazy, and eventually you just take over the game. It is going to be against a Fearless Storm, though, and we know this is one of his signature heroes for Fearless. Could be very scary times, but do you give the advantage to one or the other here, John?
It's a rather even lane in the end. I think you should be able to get your farm here as Moon. The key thing with the Leshrac for Moon is that it fits his playstyle. We know how Moon loves to play. He loves hitting his level 6, level 7 spike. He looks for aggression. He asks his supports to come in by the 4-minute mark, which in this case should be Afu's Shaker. And once you do get that double stun lineup on the mid, it's going to be really easy to lock in Fearless as long as he's not yet level 6. So Fearless has to be a bit careful. He does have a good laning ward to watch rotation from bot, but he has to preempt that and start to maybe look at his side camps and farm there in case Afu rotates.
No, absolutely. I suppose that's why they've got the obs in that position, is to make sure that Afu isn't able to get those free kind of roaming opportunities on that Earthshaker. And speaking of the devil, Afu, they go for a big large camp pull there with the creep wave. Q on the support Mars will interrupt, but another nice little aggro there from Afu is going to ensure the creep wave is still going to go back for that large camp, but no, Q, he won't let it go. He keeps getting the aggro back. They're still going to lose half the creep wave, but it's still probably the best case scenario you could have asked for here if you're Q on the Mars.
Yeah, he still manages to make Afu work for that one. The safe lane for Masteros so far looking good. He's not really being zoned out by the Tiny. He's slowing down mid one's farm considerably at 10-0 here for mid one. And you don't want that Tiny to have too slow of a start. You want to get the levels up. You want to start maxing out the tree grab, so your damage starts to skyrocket. On this position, it's a bit trickier, but you do have multiple stunts to play with if you manage to catch one of these heroes out. Issue is trying to angle yourself around the Death Prophet. You're dual melee against this hero.
Oh.
DP just excels at that.
What a toss back, mid one, but no, the first blood's gonna go the way of Q. And Q, that was some great positioning from the Mars. He was ready for that spear as the toss came out from mid one. And even though they still got Masteros, at least you denied the first blood gold away from SMG. Mid lane. Moon, that's a deep dive. Behind that tier 1 tower now, looking for another lightning strike. Fearless, he has to be very cautious. Moon, still getting aggressive. Fearless gonna try and scare him away. One of these heroes has to die very soon, I think, Moon. He's dropping very low, but there's no rotations coming in. He's gonna be alright for now. Fearless. Oh, nice juke on the stun. Gets the vortex off into the remnant, and Fearless eventually does get the kill. And immediately is out with the voice lines, of course.
He was under Thirst Vision as well, and he just kind of baited around that. A really good use of using information on you against them. Fearless does manage to hit his level 6 faster, so those rotations we talked about from the Shaker with Leshrac, gonna be a bit harder to pull off. With the ball lightning up on Fearless, he's gonna have some mobility on hand. It's gonna be harder to catch him out. And it's one of those slower games where, again, we're not seeing Afu rotate out because his own lane is not really going all too smoothly. He can't leave mid one solo, and that just means Moon's matchup for him, they miss out on some early aggression on mid there.
But they do. We saw this yesterday as well. Like Moon, I believe it was against the Storm. If I'm not incorrect in saying so, it was the Apaja Snapfire. How could I forget? That was a extremely rough time. I think the level disparity was level 8 to level 4. That last game we saw, which was... It's just an impossible game for Moon to come back from, at least in that previous one against Boom Esports. So in this new game, he's having a much better time. Bot lane, mid one, avalanche toss into Afu, but Masteros, he survives the initial combo, and with the Siphon, he is still alive, and the Fissure, it's gonna block Afu out. He can't make his way over to Masteros. He will go down as mid one keeps going for the dive in. Another Siphon out. Mid one, please tell me you get the kill. They do get it in the end with the blood right. But they know mid one's stuck. The spear's gonna land. Mid one, he's out of mana. He's got the soul ring, but that's about all he's got. And I suppose on the brighter side, he still at least gets the kill onto Masteros, but I can't say it's worth his own life.
No, definitely not. Like, you're having a great time here on Motivate.Trust. Your rotations pay off on the defensive bot. And while you leave Jackie solo, he's actually having a pretty good time against KP's Razor. If you look at the CS, he's kind of keeping up with Razor, still in the top 3 there on that Life Sealer, and they start to rotate Masteros up top as well, so they could play aggressive onto KP.
If they could, and they will, KP get siphoned up. It won't amount to a kill, but it's a bit of aggression, just warning KP that Masteros is the new sheriff in town, as Well, Jackie, he's going to go down to the bot lane now. Onto Rogi. Spear's going to land, but the Avalanche... Oh, mid one, he tossed Rogi back in. I believe he wanted to toss Jackie, but instead he somehow got Rogi. And Rogi, he's going to survive. As they saw the rotation coming in from Arfu. They had an Observer Ward to get that vision, so they won't go for the chase onto the Bloodseeker. It's another very close call here for SMG.
They narrowly avoid this situation going south, but they're missing out their own aggression. They tried to make a move mid with Arfu, it didn't line up, and they end up just losing Raji again.
We'll get him. That was on the tail end of that Observer Ward. I mean, Rogi, he ends up getting the Obs kill, but Fearless is able to secure his life instead. Now Moon gonna try and get aggressive with this Haste Rune. Edict down as well. Pulse to the low ground. Fearless, can you actually escape? In the meantime, Jackie's cut off Arfu. Fearless still trying to go for a run. He'll Fairy Fire up and actually vortexes the creep. I suppose it didn't matter either way. He was probably just gonna die. So Moon, really abusing that Haste Rune movement speed, does pick up his first kill of the game.
It's a good bounce back for Moon. He definitely needs as much as he can get. I think what SMG need to do now is maybe line up for a bit of a shove-in. You do see KP dropping a bit low up top, solo up against Masaros. But Masaros doesn't really have backup himself. If they find an angle with a salve out from KP, they could try to punish, and they're getting some deep TPs in up top here.
They are. Masaros gonna be spotted. Mid one. Avalanche tosses there into the Blood Riot, and this should be an easy kill. Fearless, he's rotated though. He'll try to get at least some form of a trade onto Rogi, and does. Oh, Fisher. Not quite the block they were looking for there from Arfu. They can still try, but Q is around with the Arena. In fact, they might turn now. Arena's going to catch two. TP is there from set 0. Spear eventually is going to land onto the cliff, but now SMG, they've brought Moon in. They'll go after set 0. That'll be one down, and they might just find a second as Fearless. He will die as King of the Hill. Arfu, no, he will survive. He outruns the Crypt Swarm. And Motivate.Trust, for all the TPs they commit, they will get nothing.
Hey, they overcommit to that fight for sure there, Mike. Fearless is just playing really aggressive as we tend to see him on the Storm, but he's diving a bit too deep. There are high-strength heroes on the side of SMG. They're very tanky. For this point in the game, they've gotten a lot more HP than the Storm can really handle in a big group. You need to kind of respect that. On the other hand, they are giving Jackie some room to keep farming up. He is still slowly but surely building up his net worth, but they're lagging behind Moon now. It's just more effective for the Leshrac to clear out camps. He's had a lot of space in the jungle. We haven't seen deep dives in for Motivate.Trust to ensure that the jungle farm is slowing down. They don't even have that much forward vision here for Motivate.Trust. They don't have wards on top jungle, no wards in the triangle, and that just means SMG can continuously build up and farm. They don't have the net worth lead on SMG, but their Leshrac is really, really big despite that slower lane, and I think that's something they can play around now. They could look for a push on a tower. We haven't seen either side go for tower trades yet. It is a 10-minute mark. You've got the max Edict up on Moon, and he's got a Haste Rune again. So he can look to play aggressive with this.
Of course he does. Down to the bot lane they go. That tier 1 tower is still standing, so I'm sure Moon will just want to go get rid of it with the Diabolic Edict. Set 0 wisely is going to back off at the right time, as again they have the vision with an Observer Ward to scout out Moon and Arfu rotating down bot. And so instead, Motivate.Trust, they are going to try and push out the top tier 1 tower. SMG will happily take the bottom. And it should amount to an even trade, as Masaros has committed the exorcism.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
And it will.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Yeah, not too much being committed from either side. They just go for a straight trade. I think SMG lined themselves up for a mid push a little bit quicker, because again, it goes back to Leshrac. He doesn't rely on an ult for a push. Diabolic Edict's a short enough cooldown that you can just go for back-to-back objectives. And they could try to posture there if they want to, but looks like they're just settling in on clearing out the jungle. Same thing goes for Motivate.Trust, playing around top. They do finally get the deeper ward on the top jungle. And they do finally hit an item timing here on Fearless. He's got the Kaya up, so that should help him with longer zips and gives him a little bit more oomph in his spells, and that could lead to some better kills for the Storm here.
Well, they're smoked up. Fearless and Q. Get some wards down. Moon, he'll get zipped on. In fact, it's going to be KP first, but no, there's your Yule Scepter out. Moon, he's caught in the arena, but a nice juke out on the spear, but it won't matter. They still managed to get the kill, but can they get out now? Q, he has been static linked up for quite a while as the plasma field will get the job done, but Jackie, trying to protect, will infest set 0, give the bonus HP over, and now Masteros has joined in. And that'll be enough though. A 1-for-1 definitely in the favor of Motivate.Trust. And they'll try to rush that mid-tier 1 tower.
It's still a bit of a scary moment. It looks like Motivate.Trust understands finding that Leshrac gives him a bigger opening for aggression here. But SMG respawns aren't too long. So Moon is back up and they can look to settle back in. They don't have to worry about Exorcism for half a minute if they do choose to force the issue. Mid one, he's still trying to farm. His Tiny is lagging a bit behind the net worth now. Like the only hero on SMG that does have good farm is Moon's Leshrac. The Tiny's behind, the Razor's behind. That is a bit of an issue. Our Tiny does need to hit that Blink, Echo Saber, Silver Edge timing relatively quick to hit its power spike, and it's still a ways off from that, so perhaps it is time for SMG to just kind of relax for a bit. They're also trying to save for the blink on Afu for the slam. Come out in that shaker, and that's also a ways off, but they're posturing now.
Oh, Fearless. Gonna zip away before the Fisher comes in from Afu. Afu, I mean, he's getting relatively close now to the Blink Dagger up on the Earthshaker, but not quite there yet. In the meantime, Masteros, he's going on a bit of a solo mission here by himself, but Rupture's going to fly out. Rogi, he wasn't positioned for that. But in the end, Masteros still going to be able to kind of outrun and outpace them until KP joins in. But even then, the wait out the Rupture, Masteros is going to be fine. In the meantime, top lane, Afu ends up dropping. Fearless able to take the kill on the Storm and does immediately back up. While in the mid lane, Masteros again went back in for that mid-tier 1 tower. But he is going to pay for it, as well as set 0 on the Lion, who will be the second to drop to KP. And now SMG can kind of return the favor.
It's not going to take too long for them to melt this. Diabolic Edict's going to be back up, and there's no defense coming through from Motivate.Trust. They already used Arena up top, no Exorcism, so it can't really force a fight even if they did have TPs on hand. And that opens up the map for SMG. They can invade the jungle, they can plant deeper wards, they can start to shut down some of the farming paths you see Jackie and Fearless kind of try to take. And once you slow down that pace for the Storm and Lifestealer, it can be a bit hard for them to keep up. But SMG still needs to kind of close the gap in their own network issues. Like, we're still seeing KP lag behind, we're still seeing mid 1 lag severely behind as well. Perhaps once that blink is up on our Tiny, you can look for just playing with Avalanche Toss, looking for the burst kills. You will have to really start thinking about your late game scaling, or at least your mid game scaling, and that's where some of the farm prioritization has to flow into the Tiny rather than the Lush.
Another big smoke up. Motivate.Trust as 3. Not going to move into that dire jungle, and mid 1, he'd be a great target. In fact, look at that zip right in. Fearless, he's ready, and here we go. On to mid 1, can they hold him down? Arena's going to be there. TP's flying in, but they should not make it in time. Afu, he's out with the Fisher. But it's only a Fisher that can come out here from Afu. SMG bring nobody else over to that top lane. So you're going to lose this POS 1 Tiny once again.
That's a massive issue, considering how far behind mid 1 is. We were talking about the Tiny getting way more farm. He's just not getting space out.
Maybe they've gone too far this time. Jackie going to try and help protect. Fearless, Earth Spike is there. Fearless, he'll still zip out, but Fisher is going to connect, and that should be enough. Rupture out as well on the right side, but Set 0 is immediately just going to TP as now Jackie's in big trouble. Moon still chasing him down, has the Yule Scepter up in about 4 seconds. Rage committed, and Jackie might just make it, but KP still having a look around for a plasma field. It's going to be unable to close the gap. So, a very nice kill now for Moon on the Lesh.
They get the punishment they want on that Storm. We managed to get a good slam as well. They're still keeping chase though.
Yeah, they mistimed the split earth there on Masteros, but with the Diabolic Edict physical damage, it's going to hurt him quite a lot. The Bloodrite comes in, mid 1, he's out with the toss of the Avalanche. And that's going to be enough. A blink is available on mid 1, so he can get active very early on now with his team. And that does seem to be the intention here from SMG.
Yeah, they sacrificed the early farming potential of Mid-One's buildup. You know, they didn't go for the max 3 grab, instead focusing on the avalanche toss for that burst damage. And this is where they need to kick into overdrive. They need to keep that aggression up. They need to keep catching heroes in backline to find these kills.
Rogi to be caught out. Nice easy pick off there for Fearless on the Storm. You had Mid-One around, but obviously he's not going to sacrifice himself to try and turn that. There's nobody else from SMG was around the area. I suppose now he will start working on towards that Echo Saber, so Mid-One, he might just need a bit of farming time.
Definitely. Again, because he went for the skill build-up though, his jungle farming isn't that quick with just level 1 tree grab. You will want to look for the burst. You will want to hunt heroes, and that is the reasoning with the smoke with Afu. They've both got their blinks up. They want to look for the pick-off once more, but Motivate.Trust are starting to stick as a group. And they are fairly tanky with a Mars pause 4, so it can be hard to burst down the supports first.
Afu's going to be spotted, but Spear is off the mark, but it won't matter. They've got the arena. Avalanche toss is there, though. Q's gone. Fearless, he's already so darn low, but he's going to keep trying to chase down Afu, and he does get the kill, but now how do you get out? He'll try to TP, and he is going to make it. He is going to make it just the nick of time. And Motivate, well, they popped the Exorcism on Masaros. But that's an off-lane Death Prophet, so you're not quite as concerned about the cooldowns. And I think Motivate, it'll be a support trade, so you'll be happy regardless for either side.
You don't lose too much on either side there. Motivate.Trust, at least they get the kill there on Fearless, who does need to build up in the Storm, saving up towards that BKB. And they are striking mass TP here.
Yeah, KP has been spotted. Spear is out, he's locked down, and I don't really see much of a way out for KP. And you've got to give a lot of credit to the ward game right now of Motivate.Trust, John. They just have vision over everybody at every single moment, it feels like.
Yeah, they've got really good defensive wards down bot. They know that's the area where SMG will want to play around. Although Fearless does get caught out here.
Well, that he does. Another nice rotation there from Moon. He's been very, very good this game on the left track and just continuously finding important pickoffs. Does get himself another on the Storm.
You really just want to build on that Lush, slow down the Storm. You still have a couple of item beats left on Moon. Like once he gets an Octarine up, it's going to be a bit harder to melt him, or the Bloodstone up, it's going to be harder to burst him down. That could lead to prolonged fights. War of Attrition is where the Leshrac really does shine with his damage output. For Fearless, at the least the BKB was done, right as he died, so he's got spell immunity up. The same combination won't be able to catch him out next time as long as he's quick on a spell immunity, and it does lead to more avenues for aggression there on Motivate.Trust. You do have to be careful. They are sort of playing back and forth up here top.
Yeah, Roger knows about it, though. Set Zero trying to be a little bit sneaky here, but Roger did have that slight bit of vision. That'll mean the rest of SMG just back out of that top side. I think SMG can afford to kind of be patient with the kind of draft they have. They've done well enough throughout this mid-game to even out the game. You still have that late-game scaling from mid-1 on the Tiny, and it's not like the Leshrac really drops off too much either. It still pumps out a hell of a lot of damage. The Motivate, they're going to group up as 5 into the mid lane. They'll go right after KP. TPs are coming in to try and force a fight, but it's too late. They've already lost one. In fact, Moon now is going to be jumped Afu. He's around with the Blink Dagger, but he's got no Echo Slam. In fact, Avalanche Toss is going to be onto the Earthshaker. He blinked into the wrong time. He'll go down as well. Masteros, he'll keep chasing for a bit more. Mid 1, he'll be a great target, but they aren't going to dive tier 3 towers quite yet. But a 3-for-0 trade, certainly in the favor of Motivate.Trust, as they get right back to farming.
I love the difference there in just how confident Motivate.Trust was with just that one item spike. With the BKB up in Fearless, they were much more willing to jump in, take a fight, use that spell immunity to start bursting down some of these heroes. Compare that to SMG when they picked up their blinks on Mid-1 and Afu. We saw them moving as a duo, trying to find pickoffs. They didn't group up as 5. They didn't manage to really abuse that item spike, and that's where Motivate.Trust is starting to build that lead up. It was a very even game until then. Now you've got a 3k lead for Motivate.Trust.
Mid-1 constantly asking for high fives here from Jackie and Fearless, but not quite getting what he wants. You saw Jackie with that TP attempt, just not really taking much damage. I suppose with the armlet, he's got plenty of armor as well right now, and just not enough damage flying out from mid one to really make Jackie too nervous. But now perhaps Rage has already been committed. Rupture's out. He hasn't got many places to go. Fish is going to be a nice block as well. He needs help ASAP. Fearless trying to get in range for the Infest, but it's not there. He zips on the wrong side of the Fisher, and Fearless is going to die in a boot. Oh, a bit of a miss-zip there from Fearless. Gonna cost them as now Q's jumped in, but it's 1 by 1. This is not what you want. Avalanche is out. Q's gonna die. Masteros, he's BKB'd up. It's not looking great for him. He can't survive with the Spirit Siphons. SMG, they will clean up as an Echo Slam towards the South. Afu, he wants the last piece, but he won't get it. The Set Zero is going to give him the tip over. And Afu, he will at least give them a gift for Motivate.Trust.
Yeah, it's not the best trade still for Motivate, but SMG definitely lining up their aggression there. Do find the big kills they need to, and Motivate.Trust maybe just getting a bit overconfident. Like they weren't quite plumped up the way they wanted to. The response, the TPs in, but tier 2s were just a bit too slow, and they got flustered by getting Jackie caught out, and they were trying to just TP out. I think those brave TPs that we saw Jackie trying to pull in the triangle, you can't replicate that as a Storm. You don't have as much armor on Fearless, so the hits from the Tiny will just rip right through. Even a Razor can just melt you, and you have to kind of get yourself in a better position there. So SMG, with the punishment, start to reel back that lead again, making it a very even game. 18-17 now, less than 1k lead for Motivate.Trust. And SMG, as long as they keep that pacing up, they can just keep running. And they do smoke up once more to get a good scan under Roshan as well. So they've got good time to force this fight.
Oh, Motivate, this could be trouble. Motivate, I'm not sure about this timing right now, as they know they're in there. Arfu gonna blink in with the Fisher now, and they've got Fearless already, but the Infest is gonna buy a bit of time as Arfu, who'll be the first one to go down, but he does buy back. Meanwhile, Moon dropping very low with the finger. It wasn't enough. Masteros still trying, but they've got the Death Prophet down. Fearless, he's back in, but the Yule Scepter is gonna save the day, or maybe not. They still get the Leshrac down, but they have lost Fearless, and now they'll lose Q. As Jackie, he just needs to get the hell out. SMG still on the chase. Toss in onto Rogi. Bloodride is actually going to connect, and now the Fisher will hold him down. The buybacks, they are going to be too late. In fact, this could be the worst timing, as they is TP'd in. But can they actually fight back? I think the answer might be no, but Fearless, he's going to try. The man with no fear, he'll keep going. Zip back and forth, but now he's at a matter, and Afu commits the Echo. No games here from our Earthshaker. Mid one, he's dropping low. Q, he might go for the chase, but I don't think he can actually keep up. He'll leave him be. As now Set Zero's respawned. You're going to lose Afu to the tower damage. In fact, Spear out. Q, he is actually cleaning up. He's holding multiple heroes down. And somehow they make the buybacks worthwhile.
It's somehow worthwhile. I think dying back on Fearless's Storm is still pretty painful. You have to admire where these fights are happening, Mike. They're happening right between the tier 1 and tier 2. The tier 1 still stands. They just dive in that area. How often do you see that? Tier 1 still stands at 25 minutes. You force the fight in between twice in a row. With the fight going the way it did, though, SMG don't really have an opening to go for the Roshan themselves. So that does even out. You're going to see a respawn of Fearless line up, the respawn of Afu. And then that's when either side could look to go for Roche once more. Mid one at least does have a Shadow Blade up. It's just going to be saving up towards the Silver Edge. So he is hitting his big farm spikes. He's hitting his big damage spikes as a Tiny into the late game. It's going to be a force to be reckoned with. He has overtaken Jackie and farm. And this is the point where you might start to wonder about how well a Lifestealer can keep up in farming pace. Jackie's trying to save up for his Scotty. It's still 2 parts away. But his ability to clear creep wave, to clear camps is a lot slower than the Tiny at this point. And if they don't find a way to mitigate that, then at some point mid one will just really take over with his damage output.
It's proven to be very difficult, right? Like, we're used to seeing Jackie on this Lifestealer get very involved throughout the mid game, and he's been trying to, but there's just so much kiting potential from the draft of SMG. It feels like he can't actually fight right now. I don't know when he is going to be able to fight, quite frankly, John. So the kiting is just kind of extreme from SMG. I suppose maybe once Fearless goes to the Aghanim Scepter upgrade on the Storm, you could kind of go for the Infest bomb out. It looks like he's actually going to go for the Octarine Core, rather the Bloodstone.
Are scanning.
Meanwhile, mid lane, SMG. A group up, big smoke out, mid one. With the Shadow Blade will front line, but that's going to wear out. And now, Ward, oh, he's going to get vision of Jackie. They'll jump in with the Avalanche toss. Jackie's going to try and pop the Rage. He needs an Infest target. He'll try for the TP, but eventually does cancel. I was wondering, John, I was like, wait a minute, where's Fearless? He needs someone to Infest. Eventually, I mean, he had to cancel that TP.
Is under attack.
Yeah, that's a pretty ballsy TP from Jackie. In the end, he does get TP'd out by Fearless, so I guess it's not too big of an issue to cancel that off. SMG, they did pop, at the very least, they did pop the Razor ult, so the Eye of the Storm's not going to be up in the next fight, and Motivate.Trust, understanding that maybe a couple of spells are going to be on cooldown, he will look to smoke and reset. Issue is, SMG is already back off, but they're going to try Roshan, and again, a really well-timed scan from SMG does tell that something's up near the pit.
Perfectly timed scan out, however, Rogi is still going to get caught. But you are the +5 Bloodseeker, so you're happy to tank the 5-man smoke. In fact, well, you don't want to lose more here. Fu, he's going to be scouted out and does get caught by the line. In fact, they may have even found more now. KP gonna get zipped on by Fearless, but he's low on mana. Arena out, but it's not gonna catch mid one either. So a few ultimates committed there. I suppose Motivate, they could still try to force the Roshan while Arfu is down. Set 0. Hex out onto KP, but mid one's gonna jump right in with the Avalanche toss and cleans him up. Buybacks there from Rogi. They're gonna commit to the fight now. Motivate, they're a bit low on mana here on Fearless, but he's still gonna try and fight this one out against Moon. Bloodstone active has been popped. Fearless, he uses his PKB and needs to TP out. And he does. But SMG now. Do you go back in? Do you keep the fight up? It looks like they are gonna try. Their cooldowns are so much lower on Jackie. He will get bursted down by mid one. Terrible news here for Motivate. They do have the buyback on Jackie, but he won't want to commit it. And now Roshan should be open for SMG.
It's not going to take them too long with the damage they have on Moon and on mid one. They could try to zip in here on Motivate.Trust side. Fearless could try to be brave and pull a play. The issue is his BKB's on cooldown, so it's not a very safe play. And Rosh is falling a bit too fast for them, so first Roshan looking to go the way of SMG. After a bit of a drawn-out fight, they do manage to make it work. And we're reaching a point where SMG does have a significant lead now on the map. 5k up in that fort, 29 minutes in. Not a massive lead for this point, but still a lead that is something that you can feel.
Masteros is going to feel something right now, John. There's your Silver Edge out. Avalanche tosses there as well. He'll pop the Essence Ring with the Spirit Siphons, but the damage is still flying in. He's going to try and BKB, but that won't help you against the physical damage. Or maybe it could help you TP out, but not quite.
Oh.
Mid one with the Echo Saber, able to get the damage out. And in the meantime, bottom lane, Arfu and Moon both in danger. Arfu already dying, and Moon, he'll be this. Oh, KP. He's going to try and force the fight. Fearless is TP'd out with no mana, but Jackie, he'll happily move back in. Rupture's there on set 0, but with the mana drain and shards up, he can go Magic Immune. In the end, nobody else will die. So 1-for-1 across the map, or rather 1-for-2.
Top tower is under
That was
attack.
in the favor of Motivate, as you did lose Arfu and Moon.
Pretty big kills for Motivate.Trust. Slowing down the Lush rack is kind of a good way to bounce back in, because the Lush, at this point, it's starting to plateau, right? You've got the Bloodstone out, you've got the Eul's Travels. You could try for Shivas, maybe a BKB down the line, a Hex as well. Could be an option, but it's at this point where you can just get ripped to shreds by the damage output on Motivate.Trust. The Lifestealer can just stand in front, get to work with the right clicks. Jackie, he's almost got the Scotty up. So in that last fight, he didn't even have the Scotty slow, the added stats to play with, and he has it up now, along with the Titan Sliver coming through at some point. So it's going to be a bit harder to handle Lifestealer. They will need mid one to actually take control of that situation. It all boils down to the Tiny ripping through him with that Silver Edge. If the Tiny's not around, Jackie can actually just run around and do what he wants.
We've got a 4-man smoke here. Motivate.Trust going to move in, and they might run right into mid one, but he's invis. Sentry Ward is down. They'll spot him out mid one. He's going to miss out on the avalanche. On to set 0. Does back his way out in time. Nice quick reactions there from our Lion, but SMG, they're still going to try and force the fight. With this Aegis up, onto that tier 2 bottom tower. Fearless, he'll TP in. Mid one, he's going to get jumped with the spear out, but he's got help right behind him. Zip in though, how long can he survive? Fish is going to block him in, but no, the arena makes him bounce back out, and they will start to just shred the side of Motivate. This mid one, he actually does end up dropping, but that was only the Aegis. And as a trade, they get Masaros, and they might even find the Lifestealer. Jackie to drop. Hand up from mid one. And 4 heroes down as SMG, they will go onto the high ground.
That's a massive win. Big issue there. Fearless, again, couldn't use his BKB. He got stun locked as he TP'd in. Once that storm was gone, he had very little options left to take that fight. And they're trying to force tier 4. So they're going back and forth here, but they're forcing the buybacks out. So they back off, go back for the racks. But you have some heroes now for Motivate.Trust. They can look to maybe try to play defense. 3 versus 5 is a bit of a tough situation though.
Do you force T4s? I mean, you haven't got much time left, but you might have just enough time. With the Diabolic Edict and the amount of damage mid one's pumping out, you could force a very early defense here from Motivate, as both T4s are about to drop. Mid one, he'll shred through the second, and they're onto the Ancient. You have no choice now. Motivate, they have to move in ASAP. Half HP Ancient mid one, he's gonna BKB up. He's a man of business. He'll just finish off the game as the GG has been called. In fact, he'll leave the Ancient alone. Oh, the classic SEA play. Never finish the Ancient, always dive the Fountain. In the end though, SMG able to pick up game 1 in this lower bracket final.
Yeah, they get off on a good start here. For a while, it looked like Motivate.Trust were hitting their timings. They were managing to get the push off. They left mid one and Moon at the lower farm for a very long time, or at least only Moon was farming up. Mid one and KP were sacrificing their farms to hit those points, but Motivate.Trust make a couple of mistakes to get punished for it. And it looks like SMG is the team that has eaten some of that MSG to get their energy up today, Mike, at least in game 1.
That's absolutely true, John. We are going to head to a very short break, and after that break, we're going to see if Motivate.Trust can force this lower bracket final to a game 3, or whether SMG is going to get a 2-0 victory and make their way through to the grand final to go against Boom Esports. We'll find out very soon.